didn't have any technical difficulties or anything.
Yeah, Connie, I have experience with Eventbrite. There's an extra step. So people who registered via Eventbrite have to first log in to that before they access the Zoom link.
All right, I'm going to share my screen as people are coming in now. Well, thank you all for joining us today. We're just going to wait a couple minutes before we get started. But here's our little housekeeping notes. Feel free to enter your name and company into the chat box. And as questions arise, please type them into the chat box and we will get to them. After all presenters, we have a full, what do they call it, docket? We have a full show waiting for you today. Thank you for joining us. We're just going to give a few more minutes for everybody to join us. Good afternoon, Tricia.
Hey, Connie.
Bob, how are you?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Good. Just going to get started here in a couple minutes. Hi, Don. Hi, Gerald. Hi, what else did I miss? Karen. Hi, Karen. Welcome. Okay, thank you all for being here today. I'm going to keep my eyes on if a few more people enter and mosey on now. Here's another one. Welcome to our meeting. Many of you are familiar with our programs here for Detroit 2030 District, and our members of our House of Worship are our multifamily best practice groups. Miss seeing everybody in person. So I'm tired of Zoom meetings. Karen, can't wait to see everybody again. But welcome here today. I just wanted to introduce our co-chairs for our multifamily group, which is a fairly new group, and that's Tricia DeMarco. If you want to say hello, Tricia.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tricia DeMarco with Spalding D. Decker, and I co-chair the Multifamily Best Practice Group. So good to have everyone here.
Thanks, Tricia. Our other co-chair is one of our presenters today, and that's Ladine. You want to say hello?
Hi, I'm Ladine Ramirez, and I work.
Oh, you're covered. You're covered. There you go. Okay, that's right.
Hi, I'm Ladine Ramirez, and I work with the DTE Multifamily Energy Efficiency Program. I am also the co-chair with the Detroit 2030. I've been involved with the Detroit 2030 as a program manager and ambassador. So I'm glad to be presenting as well this time.
Yeah. And our partners on this is Michigan Interfaith Power and Light. Many of you know Jennifer. Do you want to say hello, Jennifer?
Hello, everyone. I'm Jennifer Young with Michigan Interfaith Power and Light. Nice.
Great. And I believe we have a rare presence of our founder and ex officio, Peggy Matta.
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, welcome, Peggy. The rest of you will have an opportunity when we're done through the presenters to say hello and get to know each other. But in the meantime, please put your name and organization in our chat box, as well as questions that we will get to as soon as we're done with each presenter. So without further ado, I'm going to quit sharing my screen and we're going to let Ladine talk to you a little bit about multifamily DTE incentives. And don't worry, we're going to do the multifamily house of worship mix too. So, all right. All right, I have to stop sharing, which I did. It'll take just a second. There we
See it
go.
now?
Yep,
Perfect.
see it now.
Well, great. There are a couple different eligibility guidelines that a property must meet in order to be multifamily. And I'm not going to read through each slide, but just going to give you an overview. There must be 3 units or more under one roof. So if it is like a home that's been converted into apartment complex, as you see, we can do apartments, condominiums, senior assisted living, and they must be served by DTE Electric or have a gas account and be current. So we have several different programs, and the first program we have is a free direct installation. And this is actually a presentation, and then I'll send it to Connie and it can be sent out later, but just for time's sake, we've kind of condensed it down.
Lost sound.
Yes, including the
You can't hear her?
because
Oh, they said no.
I
Okay.
believe that she's speaking through your mic, so when you mute yourself.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Oh, I see. Okay, you're right. We're gonna keep it that way because we had feedback. Shut yours off. Now go back to shutting yours off. Okay. Can you hear? Oh. 1 second. One of us has to be muted. So.
Okay.
Oh.
So do I need to kind of backtrack? So the program, just over the direct installation, is a free program to customers and involves the LED light bulbs, the water saving measures, such as aerators and shower heads. And then we also offer the programmable thermostats, including the Sensi, which is a Wi-Fi enabled thermostat. And then also pipe wrap insulation. So if the consumer has individual water heaters or they have a common area, we can also install the pipe wrap for free. Now, I'm going to jump down to this slide. So another program, in addition to the direct install, which is a free program, this program is actually a rebate type program. And we do have catalogs, and there are 2 types of programs. One is a market rate, and then one is income qualified. And in the catalogs, it will list how a property qualifies for a market rate or income qualified. So you will get a copy of this if you have questions later, I would be happy to go over it in depth with you. And then for the rebate program, what this means is that you would have a trade ally, that would be a contractor that would actually do the installation of the energy saving measure. And there's a process that the customer must go through. The first is to do a reservation application. It's a pretty simple process. It's a 1-page application. And that gets submitted, and once it's approved by the review team, the funding is actually set aside for that customer. So it's not like we would run out of funding and then you wouldn't be able to do your project. That money is set aside for your project. Then they issue a reservation letter. The contractor goes ahead and does the installation. They have to apply a final application within 60 days. Once it's reviewed, we send the payment to the customer, or they can allocate it back to the contractor. So it gives you that type of option. Just to kind of give you a little bit about what that looks like. Well, we have new construction, but we also have tune-up. So if you already have existing furnaces or boilers. And then, for example, we do have, so let's say you're going to replace your furnace. So the furnace with an EC motor would be $1,500 per furnace. Now, actually, that's been updated. This is I'm sorry, I apologize. This is a 2020, but it is around that amount.
So that's what you get.
Yes.
Back.
Per furnace, right? So once the application is approved, then you would be able to receive a check for that amount. So it's a pretty simple process. Right now we're in wait list for both electric and gas, but I encourage everyone who's interested is to still apply to get their project on the waiting list. Because what happens, that marks your place for the 2022 funding year. And I think my time's up, so I'm going to turn it back over to Connie.
Thanks, Nadine. Great. So, yeah, I'm pretty familiar. I used to do the incentives for roof systems. And yeah, even if you're not working on something right now and it's in the future, just get your application in. So they'll set aside that amount of money, and hopefully there'll be funding in the future if they run out, but you want to be first on the list. So being first or in order does matter. Okay, thank you, Ladine. And all these presentations will be available to you. So don't feel like you have to memorize everything. And of course, the speakers will take questions at any time in the future. Our next speaker is with DTE, also with the small business program. And that's Jeremy Capello. And he works with houses of worship, and he presents unique energy efficiency opportunities. And he pays attention to the size and multiple uses in the buildings and campuses. He understands these projects can be overwhelming, and he's here today to talk about how he can help us through that. Okay, Jeremy's on.
Thanks, Connie.
You're welcome.
Swap this really quick here. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining the webinar. I'm excited to share some of what we do in the small business program with you guys. It's been a bit of a journey for DTE going through small business programs. So I'm just kind of going to start by giving you guys a little bit of understanding of kind of what's happening in DTE with our energy efficiency programs. Lydine and Denise work together on the multifamily program, which is actually on the residential side. So for commercial customers, we have a bunch of different programs that you can participate in. And essentially that's all this slide is. I know it looks really full and lots of information on here, but we have a lot of different programs for different types of customers. And the one that I'm going to talk to you guys about today is the small business program. It is very similar to the approach that the multifamily program takes. But I mean, at its base, what we're really looking to do is help customers, educate them, understand where their usage is coming from, and really what they can do to better that. So what we do is we have what's called the concierge model, which is really customer centric focused. So what we're trying to do is alleviate all of that stress. Most of our small business owners are, and especially as it relates to houses of worship, things are just starting to come back. People are just starting to actually attend in person. There's a lot of things that need to be done. We realize energy is not typically top of the list. And that's really where our program comes in, because it's designed in a way to help customers from start to finish. So essentially the way that it works for houses of worship, we have a no cost assessment. So that's kind of step one. That's really the best place to get started, because what's going to happen is we're going to send an energy educator on site who's going to walk through your property and basically create a report for you to keep, which is going to show you where the opportunities for energy efficiency are, what the rebates would be that we could offer you. But best of all, by calling somebody on site and scheduling one of these appointments, there are upgrades that we install at no cost or very low cost. For the most part, for houses of worship, the program is free. So we'll come in, and if there's a screw-in light bulb, if there's pipe wrap that we can set down, if there's aerators, if there's shower heads, there's a lot of things that we do that are all complimentary. So again, really no brainer, call, schedule the appointment. We'll come out, do the assessment, potentially install some free equipment. And then if you have a more advanced project, which requires a trade professional, something along the lines of HVAC, water heaters, refrigeration. Those are going to need a specialized trade contractor, and that is also part of the program. So what we do is we give a trade ally network. So we have about 25 contractors who we have already vetted through DTE, through the program, who will basically perform the work, submit the rebate application, take care of everything for you. But one thing that I do want to say is you can't mix and match between DTE programs. So if you happen to fall in multiple programs, you can only do one at a time. So that's essentially all that you need to know with this participation guidelines slide. Just basically trying to remove people from double dipping, like going to a lighting store, buying the light bulbs, getting a discount, and then submitting a rebate application for that. That's something that we are going to check prior to you participating in the program. But the reason why we're here today is to talk about houses of worship. And I'm really excited to talk to you guys about this because we've just recently redesigned our program. We've partnered with Seal, their solutions for energy efficiency logistics. They're headquartered right over there on Howard Street in Detroit. They've worked with us since 2009. They've been doing the small business program since 2013. Houses of worship are really unique in terms of the opportunities that are available because typically there's non-standard lighting in sanctuaries or places like that. So lighting is typically what most of our customers are going to participate in. That's the easy no-brainer type situation. But again, because these buildings have a multi-use, a lot of them have a gymnasium. That lighting in there is much different than what's in the sanctuary, which is different than what's in the hallway. Some of the churches have schools attached to them. A lot of them have kitchens or pantries or warehouses and storage. So really there's a lot that you can be doing. Even if you don't have any of these and you just have a sanctuary and a place basically to worship. So I'm just kind of going to walk through some of the stuff that we cover in our program and that you can get a rebate for with Todd. And we'll touch on that in a minute, but we do roofing and HVAC. So that's furnaces, boilers, hot water tanks, the roofing as well. They do have Energy Star roofing and asphalt that you can get. So that is something we can rebate through the program. This is probably our most popular measure, would be occupancy sensors and indoor LED lighting. Again, those occupancy sensors really come in handy for large campuses or buildings that have schools, gymnasiums, stuff like that, where that sensor is going to turn on when you walk into it. So that's something that we can provide a rebate for. This is the exterior out lighting. So we have interior, exterior lighting. As I mentioned, water heaters, boilers, commercial kitchen equipment. So we do have a program specific to refrigeration. Again, there's a ton that you can do with refrigeration and cooking. The cooking, the physical equipment can be Energy Star rated or energy efficient. But typically what we see is if you open up your doors, those gaskets that are around the outside, those typically go bad and start to warp after about 3 to 4 years. If you have a walk-in cooler or a freezer, we have those strip curtains, which can help. Typically there's anti-sweat heaters and things like that as well that can help with the efficiency of refrigeration. But the reason why I'm super excited to talk to you guys today is we have this new portion of our program, which is at no cost to houses of worship. So essentially what we do is we come in, we do that audit. And as a DTE customer, you're going to qualify for up to $5,000 of a project. Again, it's very specific to lighting, but I know it sounds kind of crazy, but that's part of what we're trying to do to help customers who are just starting to come back, and specifically houses of worship. We recognize there's a unique opportunity to service these customers and the value that they provide to the communities. So we're offering, and this just started August 1st, up to $5,000 for free of lighting that we'll install while we're on site. So again, those typically what most people will do is delamping. So what that means is you have those long troffers that have 6, 8 bulbs in them, those long incandescent bulbs. We're going to swap that down and de-lamp those because LED bulbs use like a fourth or a fifth of the energy. So it really is going to reduce your bill. We're going to go through an example here in just a moment. But again, I just want to kind of hit on this customer journey. So the no cost assessment, you receive the assessment report. Here's all the things you can do. Work with the trade contractors who can help in those situations for things that aren't covered in the program. So like I said, lighting's covered in the program. If you needed refrigeration or boiler tune-ups or furnace tune-ups, a new heating system, we would work with you through our trade contractor network to accomplish that. This is kind of what I really wanted to talk to you guys about today was about an example. And this was for a customer who purchased an old office building, and they were kind of coming back and they were actually using it as a community center. So, you know, it goes back to that multi-use function, which we typically see in a lot of our houses of worship. So again, this report, the small business report, you're physically going to get that emailed to you. And before we leave, we'll print one off and hand it to you. So you have everything that we've kind of talked about and what we've done at that time. So again, this customer got the aerators in their restrooms. So that was complimentary. Typically, we do the same type of equipment as the multifamily program. Screw in light bulbs, aerators, shower heads, pipe wrap, thermostats, and that sort of thing. On the right-hand side is what we recommended to this customer in terms of what we could see when we were on site. Now, the next part of this, after we come and do our audit and the customers raise their hand and say, yes, I'd like to participate, we bring our trade contractors out there who specialize in lighting, in refrigeration. And this is a really, really good example to show you guys just how we can help you and how we help our customers. So the total project cost was $43,375. And again, this is a very large campus. But it's a really good example because it shows you what you can get from swapping your lights out. So what I want to focus on is the system watts that are right here. So there's incandescent light bulbs, 310 of them, and that's about how much watts it's going to use and what this costs you per year and per month. By us switching those out to LED, we're able to reduce that system watts pretty much in a fifth. You know, it's a fifth of what it previously was. Their energy costs were reduced again significantly. And so while the project looks very expensive at the top, the rebate that we gave it almost $8,000 in a rebate. And then what we did was we buy down the interest rate for customers to finance. We have 0% financing for 36, 48, 60, and 72 months. It just depends really on what type of project you're doing. But these are the ones that we like to show as an example because we call this a no-brainer, right? The annual energy savings that you're going to get, this customer saved $24,000 a year by swapping out their lighting. So that just tells you they were basically able to eliminate, 4/5 of their bill because what they had was lighting. So you can see the simple payback period here. Within a year and a half, this customer was able to pay themselves back and become positive with their cash flow because of the amount of energy they were saving. So again, these are the types of projects that we really like to try to get our customers engaged with. But again, we don't expect you guys to be experts in energy. And that's really why we're here, because we can pull this billing data. We can talk to you about, this is how much your bill is. This is how much you're using. If you were to make these improvements, this is what you should expect to see. So it really gives you an understanding of what it is that you're using and how you can be better. And again, there's really no obligation. So say that you call us out there, we come and we do our proposal and leave this with you, and it's just not the right time. That's okay. It's not going to cost you guys anything for us to come out and hopefully, again, while we're on site, you're going to qualify for $5,000 of lighting and a bunch of other upgrades. So, it's really a no-brainer to at least have us out and kind of see what's going on. I'm going to talk to you guys for just a moment about our financial partners in Michigan Saves. And Todd is going to come up after me and hit a little bit harder on this. But I just really want to reiterate that DT has bought down the interest rate for our houses of worship. So there's 0% interest. And that's something that we do typically for certain types of customers and certain types of projects. So that's all included in here for houses of worship. So again, we can link you up with Todd and his team, or whatever you need help with, anything from A to Z. That's what we're here to do. The program's a concierge model. All you got to do is raise your hand and say, I'm interested in participating, and we'll kind of take it from there. So that is all that I have. I want to share my email address that's up here, as well as the phone number to call and schedule your appointment. If anybody has any questions related to DT, you can reach out to me. I may not be the person who can fix your problem, but I can at least make sure it gets to somebody who can fix it. There are a couple attachments that I had sent to Connie as well as this presentation that she's going to share with you guys. And my understanding is District 2030 has worked with the EPA and Energy Star specific to houses of worship. And there's a couple white papers that I had sent over to Connie, which I think would be really interesting for you guys to read. It'll help you understand some of the improvements you can make, how to evaluate those improvements, and really just educate yourself on energy efficiency and kind of what's out there. But again, please don't hesitate to call. We really look forward to serving you, and hopefully I'll get to answer some questions at the end here. Thanks for your time, everybody.
Great, thanks, Jeremy. As Jeremy was commenting that he's sent me some information that we will send out to everybody. But just as a reminder, the houses of worship on our website, we have a special tab on the left side, Houses of Worship Resources. So I'll send you stuff, but if you forget and you can't find the email, you should be able to find it on Houses of Worship tab, as well as there's a building member resource tab that has all of our resources. So a multifamily can find information in there too. So thank you, Jeremy. So our next presenter is Todd O'Grady. He's the Director of Outreach for Michigan Saves. And Michigan Saves is a nonprofit that has been around since 2009, and they offer financing for energy efficiency and renewable energy projects throughout the state. And I did neglect to say that DTE is a large partner with our district, as well as Michigan Saves and Lean and Green Michigan. So we're proud to have them as professional stakeholders and community stakeholders with our program. Okay, Todd, take it away. I don't see him in here. Did we lose him? Interesting. All right, let's give him a minute. Sorry, everybody. Gotta have some technical difficulty. Why don't we go over a question here? Do you want to look at a couple of the questions?
Yeah.
While we're getting Todd back online.
Hey, Connie, I see one in there for a question from Gerald. Really good question asking about steam. This is something that's not uncommon. The problem that we have is typically steam is provided by somebody else, right? And DT is not the service provider for steam. Now, if you have a system on site that produces that and you're one of our customers, we can absolutely help you with a rebate. So I know that a lot of these situations are very specific. I'd be happy to look into that for you, Gerald. So if you want to email me, I can take a look at that for you and see what we can do. You know, what I would say is I'll just send somebody out there, take a look at what your system is and see how we can help. But steam is a tricky one because typically it's supplied by like Detroit Steam, which I know is what like Marriott and the Rensen building uses. They're not technically a DTE gas customer. That is kind of the caveat to that there. I got another really good question from
Can I
Gary.
jump in?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
No, we use DT gas to heat our boilers that produces
Okay.
steam.
Yep.
What we do.
So you're covered, Gerald. We got you. Give us a call on that number.
There are thermostats for pneumatic because they've always only offered the programmable ones.
So the deal is it does have to be programmable because that's what saves the energy. The actual device itself, if you just install a
There it is.
thermostat, it's really not
Calling in
gonna
now. Oop, I have to
save
find
you,
two.
save you energy. It's the programming of the thermostat. So if there's a programmable component to it, and maybe there's something specific to steam, there is a rebate that we can give you since you're a DTE gas and electric customer. But yeah, my gut tells me if it's not programmable, there's probably no way for us to claim energy savings on it.
So there's nothing out there for pneumatic systems essentially then.
Yeah, I'll look into that for you, Gerald. That's like I said, the two customers that I've helped with this got steam supplied from somebody else. But if you guys have a boiler, and obviously you're a gas and electric DTE customer, yeah, I'll look into that for you. Connie, is there a way that I can get Gerald's email or phone number or something like that, and I can take a look at that?
I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
I can get that to you too, connect you
Okay, Tom.
guys.
All right.
Todd, are you on a call right now? Yeah, I guess he didn't call back in. Okay, we're gonna, he might, the storm might have hit him. Didn't he say it was coming? We drove through it. It's on his way over there. So I apologize for that. I think we'll just add him on to the back end of this. So we have another Todd Williams. Are you online still?
I am, and I can tell you the
Great.
storm just hit Toledo about 3 minutes ago. I actually got up to close my one window in my office because I could see the fans turning the wrong direction. So,
Oh my gosh.
fingers crossed, I'm on for the next few minutes.
Okay, well, Todd is the president and general counsel of Lean and Green Michigan, and he runs the PACE, oversees the PACE program and organization here in Michigan. And it can be used to finance energy efficiency, renewable energy improvements to commercial properties, including multifamily and houses, of course. And it offers a long-term fixed rate financing to secure, which is secured by the property. So I've known about PACE for a long time and excited to hear more about what's going on.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Hopefully everybody can see the right screen. Excellent. I'm always
Looks
curious
good.
when I put it up if it's going to be, which screen's going to be showing for me. So let's see if I can get it to move. There we go. Quickly go through a little bit about what PACE is, what we do as Lean and Green Michigan, and most importantly, get into a couple of case studies to talk about multifamily and houses of worship. So PACE, you'll hear us use that term pretty much incessantly, but it really does stand for Property Assessed Clean Energy. There's not much mystery here. It is a method for providing financing to commercial, industrial, multifamily, nonprofit, agricultural property owners in Michigan at fixed rates for 25 to 30 years to do things such as pay for energy efficiency, whether it's retrofits, gut rehabs, new construction. We really don't care. PACE is a method for financing energy efficiency and renewable energy upgrades to properties, commercial properties in Michigan. No upfront cost, can be 100% financing. So, why we think it's important, and I'm sure a lot of you have this same type of knowledge. But frankly, global carbon emissions, and if anybody saw the reports earlier this week, quite bad, something we need to address. Astoundingly, a very large portion of that comes from our buildings. And so while, you're doing good work and having, have a good business reason to make the upgrades to your properties as well, it is also vitally important that we find a way to make our current building stock more efficient and find a way to make, future building stock here in Michigan as efficient as possible. PACE is a way to help finance with that, so that hopefully we can cut down on some of the carbon. So, but we know, there is a challenge in doing the financing, whether you're a current property owner or somebody looking at purchasing a new apartment or an old apartment complex and fixing it up. The cost of energy efficiency measures can be quite expensive. PACE is one of the solutions. I will tell you to call DTE. I will also tell you to call Todd O'Grady over at Michigan Saves. PACE may not be the best fit, but it is a great fit for a lot of projects. is a good fit for local governments, and we're proud to partner with a number of them. In that, this encourages property owners to build better or to improve their properties, keeping them in the properties they're currently in. It's a great fit for property owners because you can do 100% financing, 100% of it upfront, fixed rate, long-term, and the Michigan Pay Statute is designed to protect property owners. Our projects, above a certain size, have to be guaranteed to save you money. They need to pencil out and save you money, and the contractors actually need to guarantee it to you. So it should be a cash flow positive project, guaranteed for you, over a long term. So the carrot for the PACE lenders, and make no doubt this is private capital coming in and being invested in Michigan. The carrot for them is that PACE loans are extremely secure. They're secured by the value of your property. So it is a tax assessment placed against the property and extremely secure. What you may care about a little bit more is, what can we pay for? We think of things in kind of two main buckets, energy efficiency and water efficiency kind of being in one. We break it out because a lot of people don't think about the water efficiency measures on their own. But efficiency measures and renewables. Renewables, all of the classics you can think of, solar PV, solar roofs, wind energy. One unique one in Michigan is that we will specifically finance EV charging stations. We like them. We're going to encourage them more and more often. The energy efficiency, think of it pretty broadly, lighting, HVAC, insulation, sealants, window sealing, very important for Detroit properties. We have done a few stormwater projects, and so the new City of Detroit Stormwater District runoff charges, you can avoid those with an appropriate project. We can help finance those. Water conservation, just a little additional call out for it. The one project we're very proud of is a green roof in Detroit. It was meant to help capture stormwater runoff and really did a great job in reducing that stormwater charge. It also incidentally improved the R value of the roof rather dramatically, fixed a roof that was leaking on to the tenant, and overall just a all-around great project. But some of these simple ones, if you're redoing your property, thinking about LED lights, also think about the low flow toilets, sinks and shower heads. In a multifamily property, that can generate an awful lot of savings. So bottom line, if you're thinking of doing a project, PACE can make it affordable to do the energy efficiency projects, and think of energy efficiency in a broad scope. Feel free to give us a call, and we're happy to walk you through what may qualify and what may not, and to introduce you to contractors. So a little bit about our process, a little bit about who we are. We are a third-party program administrator working on behalf of 49 jurisdictions across Michigan, Wayne County being our busiest one, but we are very happy to continue to work on projects all over Michigan. Very quickly for the next couple of slides for everybody, PACE is kind of a weird multi-party event that to get to through the end. Property owners, again, commercial, multifamily, and nonprofits we truly love. We try to gear and make it as simple as possible for those areas to come in. But local government gets involved because this is a tax assessment. Without the local government, the security interest is not there, and it will not bring in the large piles of money from the lenders. But we're here to assist them to manage the process and make sure the property owner understands what they're undertaking. So we are definitely here on behalf of the local government to assist you with your PACE projects. So contractors, we do work with a number of them, but we are an open market for contractors and lenders. So any contractor who wants to work with us, or any contractor you may want to work with, we are very happy to help them understand PACE and understand the items that we will need in addition to, make a PACE project work. Most importantly, we're going to want to see an energy audit. They're going to need to review how your building works now, design a good project that is going to cash flow. And for projects above $250,000 in cost, they're going to have to guarantee that the savings to investment ratio, that it is cash flow positive, not only, in year one, but every year for the life of the loan. So it is a hard measure. We're one of the more restrictive states for that, but it is extremely protective of property owners. So I tend to like it. The lenders, think of them as a wonderful giant pile of money who wants to help you improve your building. So most of the PACE lenders are national PACE lenders. They specialize in this type of financing. We are always looking for new ones. We have about 20 who've expressed interest in Michigan. I think we've have 9 now, 8 or 9 who've actually closed deals in Michigan. So we're excited to, bring the market to bear, and particularly for property owners to have an option in talking with multiple lenders to find a good fit for your project, whether it's cost or interest rate, or whatever your concern is. We're happy that we can grow the market and have as many as possible. So one key difference, and one thing that I think is vitally important, is the $250,000 threshold within our statute. Above $250,000 is where the savings guarantee and the savings to investment ratio requirement kicks in for PACE in Michigan. It must cash flow, it must be guaranteed for the life of it. Below that, those requirements are not there. And so we have tried to simplify the process as much as possible for some of our smaller projects to make PACE accessible and cheaper to get a hold of. And so PACE Express was founded with the concept of being easier to access for property owners, particularly nonprofits. It really was founded on the back of a small project where we did 13 rounds of documents between the attorneys. And even though I'm an attorney, I don't think you should ever have to take something 13 times to your attorney. It's way too much money to spend on a small project. And so PACE Express is easier. The restrictions are a little lower. What we're looking for from an energy audit is definitely less time with the attorneys and everybody else. So, all right, a couple of case studies. Very quickly, I'm just realizing I've got people over top of the slides. So let's talk with a couple of multifamily. We thoroughly enjoy multifamily properties. We have them in a number of jurisdictions over the state. I grabbed 2 today to share with you, as I thought they were great examples. This is the Poplars Apartments. It is not in the Detroit 2030 district, but I really like the fit of this because it shows what PACE can help with in an older multifamily property. And this is an apartment complex that has been around for quite some time, recently changed hands. The new owners actually did a PACE project on a facility a few years back and liked it enough to come back. And so, it is a new acquisition with a roof to basement kind of redo for a lot of the building. Looking at the building envelope, improvements in the domestic hot water, LED lighting, which is the simple one and easy one to think of. And then, I think the one that kind of stuck out with this was looking at, adding in, 20 kilowatts of PV solar. Just a little easy project to toss in with everything else to make this property viable, make it more comfortable for the tenants, make it actually operate better for the new owners. And so we're very happy that this one came in, but also came back from a former owner of a former project to come into this one. So kind of the other end of the spectrum is a newer multifamily property that just came into being, Schoolhouse Lofts in Plymouth. This is a complete gut rehab of a former schoolhouse building, gorgeous old building that has been sitting empty for quite some time. It is being turned in to apartments, being completely redeveloped. hear my assistant meowing in the background. Sorry about that. Sorry. Try and keep him happy as well. So with this, the property owner, the redeveloper found that they were a little tight on the budget, and they ended up coming to us for a PACE Express loan just to cover the cost of high efficiency windows. The overall rehab of the project was pretty well financed, but PACE can plug in with other financing. So we'd love you to have DTE and Michigan Saves and anybody else to borrow as little as possible. And so we are happy to plug in on a single project. See that I've got only a couple minutes left. So one last one. Our single house of worship so far was a PACE Express project in the city of Detroit, the Detroit Unity Temple. Wonderful project. Lighting improvements, installation, building envelope, and roof repair. And I know this project has been presented to the Houses of Worship Committee in the past. We're still very proud of this one. Keeping it at the 250,000 was extremely helpful for them. It made a direct impact in the services that they can provide. So I am happy to address questions after we're done with our presenters, but please feel free to give me a call.
All right. Thank you, Todd. That was awesome. Oh, and I love your cat.
Yeah, he shows
He's
up
pretty.
for Zoom meetings. I'm trying to wrestle him off screen.
Cats do love computers because I used to have one. I used to come pounce on the computer all the time. All right. We now have Todd O'Grady available by phone. Are you there, Todd?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. And I'm going to share my screen in just a second after I introduce you. I think I already introduced you, so we'll skip on to that. But he's the director for outreach for Michigan Saves, and I am going to share my screen here because I had everybody send me their presentation in case something like this happened. So look at that. My planning finally paid off. Can you see it? Can you guys see the Michigan Saves presentation?
Yep.
Thumbs up from somebody. Okay. All right, Todd. I don't know how you're gonna. Can you see it, Todd? Oh my God.
No, but I have it up myself. Kudos to Jeremy and the team at DT because I have electricity but no internet.
Can you talk up a little
So-
bit?
Yep.
I'm gonna turn my speaker. Okay, there we go. Okay, gotcha.
How's that?
Better.
Okay.
So I'm on
So I'll
the
just ask
first
you to,
slide.
perfect. So I'm Todd O'Grady with Michigan Saves. Next slide. Michigan Saves is a nonprofit. We was the nation's first nonprofit green bank. We operate on a loan loss reserve, meaning we have a pool of money that we back essentially transactions with lenders around the state. And what that does for our customers, it lowers the interest rate and it lowers the underwriting requirements. So the credit scores, or in business case, the Dun & Bradstreet scores for commercial side of things. We have strict program guidelines and quality control. We've been around since 2009. So we pretty much have, we like to say, all the bases covered, but new things come up all the time. So we're always fluid and trying to work with the market and with our contractors and the customers. Next slide. So we say that we're transforming the state's energy landscape, and you can see this from this slide by the numbers. Actually, the $270 million, this was as of last December. We're up to over 300 million now. We just, we average about 5 million a month on the residential program, which I'll
Sorry.
talk about briefly.
Shoot, sorry. Hang on a second. Hang on one quick second. I lost you. Just a second. Sorry about that. All right.
Can I just keep talking?
I have a very touchy screen. Okay, I am back to credit enhancement structure.
Yeah, you want to go to the next slide, transforming the state's
Okay.
energy landscape.
All right, there we go.
Okay. So the other important part of that is the 4,400 full-time jobs. that Michigan State Saves supports. And we do say that by our contractor base. We have over 800 contractors in our network that are energy efficiency contractors. That's everything from electricians to HVAC contractors to installation and home performance contractors. Next slide, please. So our program, we hope, is accessed by everyone in the state of Michigan, of people of all incomes. As you can see, about 56% of our customers are low to moderate income households, which we're really proud of. We're always working to service the lower credit scores too in programs. Currently, we go down to about a 640 credit score, but we also offer for folks down to 600 another lending program that has a slightly higher interest rate, but it's able to get folks furnaces when they need them, when they need heat in the middle of winter. But we're currently also working on-bill programs throughout the state, as well as credit troubled folks with credit scores of 560 and up to 600. So we're always trying to reach different markets in the state. And if any input from anyone out there, any ideas, please let us know about it. As Todd mentioned earlier, we love working with PACE. We think every person in the state has an opportunity to finance one way or another. And if there's not, then we want to tackle that and find a way to make it happen. Next slide, please. So Michigan Saves, we started off with the residential program. You can go to the next slide too, Connie. So right now we're on residential offering. Just to briefly let residential offerings.
Yes.
Okay. So just to let you know, and this applies to multifamily and rental properties as well. We work this program through local credit unions. Currently, you can get anywhere up to $50,000 for 15 years. Credit scores as low as 600, as I mentioned earlier. It's a really quick process. As soon as the customer applies online or by phone, they know within 10 minutes if they're and what they're approved for. So that helps get the emergency equipment replacement done. We can also, the interest rate for that program starts at around 3.75, which is pretty good, and it's unsecured. So we also have other programs, revolving loan funds that we offer, one through DT as well. And as I said, we're also working on a non-bill program with other utilities around the state. Next slide, please. So the commercial and public sector energy financing program is one where the houses of worship fit in, and the other nonprofits around the state. We offer financing anywhere from, really, it will go down as low as $3,000 to multiple millions. All types of businesses, nonprofits, multifamily as well. Another quick, easy process, another 15-minute decision. We currently approve about 85% of the applications that come in for this program because we use multiple lenders and we can shop it around. And plus our loan loss reserve. What that does for lenders is they know they're going to get paid if the customer defaults. So they're more apt to lend to someone with maybe a lower credit score, or it might be a little riskier in terms of excessive debt, things like that. So it really helps programs, especially on the nonprofit side, where many have had some lean years to get them approved. On the House of Worship side, we've approved, done, I think, over 110 House of Worship in the state as of last week when I checked. And many, I'd probably say about 20 are in the city of Detroit alone. On the slide right now, I see Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church. That was one of our jobs from a few years ago. And on our website, you can see that case study. I think they had a 2-year return on their investment from the lighting improvements they made at their house of worship. But we have plenty of case studies like that. And if anyone has any questions on particular return on investments or things like that, as long as you know the work that you want to get done and you've had a couple quotes from contractors, we can help you get it in the ballpark of, based on your interest rate, where you can end up with your ROI or return on investment. Next slide, please. Type of improvements, pretty much everything that Jeremy hit on earlier, we can finance, especially with DT's program that we're working with them with some 0% financing. We can hit everything pretty much on the list except for the solar photovoltaic systems. We can finance those, but it's going to be at our standard rate at about 7%, somewhere in there. We're happy to do those, but when we work with a utility like DT, it's PV isn't included.
Are you still there?
In the air conditioner, we do a lot of insulation, windows, roofs, you name it. If it saves energy, we can finance it. So if you have any ideas of doing a project, I know because of all the house of worships we've done in the past, there are a lot of committees meetings that we need to do. So the sooner we can get involved, the better, because I know once it goes from one committee, then it goes to another committee, to the other committee. So we're happy to participate in all those meetings. Just let us know. Next slide, please, Connie. What?
I see
That was my last slide.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my
We
last
lost
one.
you for a
Let me just
second,
talk-
but you came back in.
Okay, good. Yeah, the storm is through. It's still looking pretty challenging out there, but hopefully I'll just be able to finish talking about the DT program. So as Jeremy was talking about their small business program, DT has partnered with us and we're really happy about it, and it's really been a successful program. DT offers 2 financing options for projects up to $20,000. One is for a term of 36 months where you can get 0% for your project. If you need a longer term, maybe if you're doing something that maybe has less energy savings, so you might want to do 60 months, they're offering a 1.99 interest rate. So as I said before, it's a really quick process, 1-page application. It's quick, it's easy, and the nice thing is the contractor is out of it until we're ready to pre-fund the contractor. When I say pre-fund the contractors, as soon as, in this case, the House of Worship signs the dotted line that they want to do the financing, we can pre-fund the contractor up to 75% of the project so they can buy equipment, get equipment ordered to get the project started. So that's really big. Contractors like that. And when you let contractors know that the possibility of pre-funding is out there, you'll be surprised how quickly they can get your job done over other jobs because they know they're going to be getting paid quickly. So it really helps. Other than that, that's all I have, Connie. Sorry about the internet.
Oh, no problem. Thank you, Todd. I'm glad that you were able to rejoin us. Great.
So am I. And I'll stick around and listen. If anyone has any questions for me, feel free to call me as well. My cell number is 248-701-3058. I had it up in the chat earlier, but feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Okay, our last presenter is Joseph Werner. He's a U of M graduate. He's a clean tech professional with a history working at the intersection of energy efficiency, renewables, and real estate. On the project operations team at Black Power, he oversees the new market expansion into the Midwest and California, and he works with Black Power's engineering, finance, and construction management teams to complete electrification projects in underserved communities across the country. Excellent. And you have
awesome. Thanks so much, Connie. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Hey, everyone. Great to see you all. Thanks for all coming out today. We're super excited to be talking to you all. I'm also joined by my colleague, Noah Goldman, as well today, who's going to introduce Black Power, and then I can jump into how our service actually works. So with that, I will pass it over to Noah.
Great. Thank you, Joey. And thank you, everyone, for welcoming us here. We're excited to present along with you on such an important topic. All right. So Block Power, for those of you who don't know, is a relatively new player in this space. We're a minority-owned clean tech company founded in 2014, and we're focused on greening, retrofitting residential and small commercial buildings in the United States. We're especially focused on low-income, moderate-income communities, environmental and social justice communities. And the way that we unlock those markets, that we can retrofit buildings successfully and affordably in those markets, is that we've built an artificial intelligence driven tech platform to speed up energy assessments and financing. We have some pretty innovative financing mechanisms that Joey will get into later. And all in all, they lower the costs of analyzing and retrofitting buildings by over 50%. Block Power's impact so far, we've retrofitted over 1,200 buildings in New York City, California, and other cities across the United States. Those retrofits include air source heat pumps, solar installations, building envelope updates like insulation and window repairs, and also deep retrofits and weatherization as necessary, like lead and asbestos removal. And those retrofits have contributed to an estimated average annual energy bill savings of over $1,000 to customers. And that includes not only those great savings, but a $0 down lease financing options that encompasses not just installation, but maintenance and monitoring and repair. You've already heard a lot about the cost benefits of electrification, the affordability benefits, but I'll just draw your attention also to the health benefits. There are over 5 million buildings in the United States that are outdated and inefficient, consuming between 40% and 75% more energy than needed. One of the things that contributes to is an increase in sick building symptoms. So that can be an up to 30% increase in symptoms like asthma and developmental disorders in young children. And so that's why it's so important to retrofit these buildings and green and clean our buildings. And with that, I'll pass it over to Joey so he can explain more about what Block Power is doing to solve that problem.
Great. Thanks, Noah. Appreciate it. And to Noah's point, just on the sickness in buildings, anecdotally, I can speak to kind of our footprint and where we've been to date. We're a Brooklyn-based company. That's where we were founded, and we've done historically of those 1,200 projects that Noah alluded to, a heavy majority of those have been in New York City, specifically in the Bronx. And there's no coincidence that the #1 asthma rate in the country is in the Bronx. And that's because they are physically burning fuel oil in their homes to power their HVAC. So when we talk about electrification, we're talking about efficiency and resiliency as well to the building systems. We're also very much talking about cleaning the actual indoor air quality of the residents that we're serving. So I just want to call that out as well. But moving on here with regards to electrification, retrofits, and other types of efficiency retrofits, upgrading buildings is not an easy task. We keep talking about upgrades and all the benefits associated with them, but getting those actual retrofits completed is very, very difficult in a very convoluted space. As you can see here, we have engineers that need to be looped in to provide the MEP drawings for any type of retrofit that has to get done. There's construction contractors. You have your HVAC contractors. You might have plumbers, electricians, general contractors, etc. You're working with manufacturers to get the equipment purchased and their distribution network. You're working with lenders and investors to finance these actual projects. And then you're going and chasing down the incentives from both the utility as well as the government, and then seeking approval from their permitting offices. So as you can imagine, tons of stakeholders across multiple industries. And really, that's a lot to manage if you're a light commercial owner, like a houses of worship, or a residential homeowner or building owner. So in an effort to support that, we can move on to the next slide here, Noah. Or just driving that home even further, with such a fragmented process with so many moving pieces and so many stakeholders, that really increases prices. We see prices quite often way higher than they need to be. About 80% of project cost increase potential due to this convoluted space. And really at Brent's, we figure about 5 million small to medium enterprise buildings from doing these upgrades. So as you can imagine, these moving pieces that make this process very cumbersome, as well as their impact on price, present two very significant barriers to pursuing these actual retrofits. So understanding that, Black Power has actually made a kind of a solution that is what we call our one-stop shop, or one throat to choke, if you will. We, as Black Power, have a totally turnkey solution in nature. And what that means is that we will be, working with the contractor, the various contractors that are involved in these projects. We are, chasing down the appropriate incentives and chasing down the appropriate permits. We are, using deploying our own proprietary software. It's machine learning, AI-driven software that Noah alluded to, that allows us to, reduce the acquisition cost of new customers and the energy assessments to understand where certain retrofits are most appropriate, where they can deem the highest amount of savings. So being able to do all of that together in that totally turnkey nature is certainly one aspect of our service that folks enjoy when they work with us. And additionally, as Noah also alluded to, our zero down financing. So we have a financing mechanism that removes that second barrier of the upfront cost. Next slide, please. Cool. So as Noah and I have already spoken to, a lot of challenges that building owners face. They're complicated, they're expensive, these are time-consuming tasks, and some of the technologies simply are emerging technologies that folks that are busy managing a building or owning a building don't have the time to brush up on. For example, of those 1,200 projects that we have under our belt, a heavy majority of those are air source heat pumps or domestic hot water heat pumps. Heat pumps, as other folks on today's presentation here or panel have alluded to, heat pumps are the future. That is a very efficient piece of technology that is fully electric and just highly efficient. So, but again, that is a very young technology, an emerging technology. So really market adoption has to do a lot with the lack of access or knowledge of the best heating and cooling technologies out there as well. So understanding all of these challenges that building owners face, we developed this lease offer here. And as you can see on this checklist on the right, there are a few things that are worth highlighting. The zero down lease, very similar to leasing a car. You can be no money down or no loan. There's no lien on the actual home itself. These are low, predictable monthly payments for the lifetime of the contract, which is typically about 15 years, along with that performance guarantee. And lastly, all of our contracts include regular maintenance and operation checkups, at least biannually, to make sure that these assets are operating as efficiently and appropriately as possible. So those are some of the highlights of our Black Power lease. And we have a few case studies we'd like to share with you folks today. As we mentioned earlier, Black Power really has two segments of the building stock nationally that we focus on in these low to moderate income communities. First is light commercial or houses of worship. We have expertise in this field. And as you can see here, one of our projects is the St. Bartholomew Church out in New York, in White Plains, New York. And essentially what we were able to do was fully electrify the building. They had an oil boiler that we were able to convert to air source heat pumps. And if you see here at the bottom right, our impact was that we were actually able to save them about $8,500 in annual savings with a zero down lease. So we were really excited about the impact we were able to drive for the church, and since been able to work with a lot of their members to electrify their specific homes as well. So churches we really find is a good starting point for us as we go into new communities. Now I mentioned light commercial, but the other segment of the population of the building stock in which we focus on is multifamily residential buildings, anywhere from single family all the way up to some of the larger multifamily buildings that are out there. And here we have a building that we worked in right in our own backyard in Brooklyn. When and where applicable, we don't just look to electrify buildings and make sure that the heating and cooling is electrified and that the insulation and other areas like that affect the HVAC performance are operating optimally. But we also look to, when it's advantageous to do so, include solar. Especially in my home state of California, it's almost impossible to talk about electrification without also having solar be part of that conversation. And the economics are continuing to get better and better in other states like New York, like in Michigan, Wisconsin, et cetera, where we're also starting to do a lot of work in solar. So with this multifamily building here in Brooklyn, we were able to not only electrify 6 of their heating units to fully electric air source heat pumps, but we were also able to install a significant solar array up on the roof that generates over 25,000 watts of power. So we do have the capabilities of looking at a lot of emerging technologies and working with both churches as well as multifamily and residential buildings. And just some highlights here. Our lease offer works in that we have heat pumps that will lower or eliminate many of your building's costs and save you money. We always make sure that with regards to the way that we formulate our financing package is that the building owner is certainly in the black and still overall saving from month to month. And we're also very flexible in the way that we create this financing package. So we have a sample here on the next slide that shows kind of how we present our package to a potential client. So we have 3 different routes that we presented here. They can go the 0 down if capital is something they don't necessarily have on hand and 0 down is the most attractive thing for them. We can certainly do so. We can go 0 money down, have a lease payment of, in this instance, it was about $5,300. But if we take into consideration the savings, they were still in the black and benefiting about $415 per month in savings. Now, I talked about that flexibility is that, when and where applicable, we're happy to do the 0 down financing. But some folks might have a certain amount of capital or totally enough capital on hand to make this investment upfront. So you can be a portion down, as you see here in the second row, or you can do 100% down, where you are essentially buying the asset outright, and you will retain ownership of the asset for the lifetime of the contract, and that all the savings are essentially yours. So that is where we fall in terms of our flexibility of doing anywhere from 0 to 100% down in the way that we structure our lease offers. And lastly, I just want to call out how you can get involved with Block Power. There is a link that I'm happy to send around after this presentation. You can see it at the top here, www.intake.blockpower.io. And essentially what that is a very quick building intake survey. And what that survey is about 3 to 5 minutes worth of high-level questions about your building's heating and cooling needs. And what that does is generate a lead for us internally at Block Power to get someone like myself to hop on the phone, give you a ring, start the conversation, and see what we can do for you. The way that we are able to, put our numbers together, use our software, and essentially spit out a proposal is totally free to the customer as well. So I would encourage you, or if you have a home or building that you're interested in starting a conversation with Block Power, to complete the survey, or to circulate this link to anyone in your network. We'd be happy to have conversations with just about anybody in Michigan. So we look forward to get connected with you all. And lastly, I just want to call out the last slide here, both mine and Noah's emails. Pretty simple, Joseph and Noah at blockpower.io. We'd love to have a conversation with any of you folks. And thanks for the time today. Really appreciate it. And I did see one question come in from Peggy that I just wanted to address quickly. The church did lease the equipment. That's absolutely right. And then they have they are anticipating at the end of the 15-year engagement with us to buy the air source heat pump from us for about $1. So they have the ability to retain ownership after the life of the contract. And lastly, the terms. Our interest rates for the financing could be anywhere from about 2.5% to 8%, depending on a few different factors that we have to bake in. But that is where our financing currently sits as well. Thanks for the questions. Connie, I'll pass it back over to you.
Great, thanks, Joseph. Very interesting. So Ladine is going to go through a couple more questions that we have. Go ahead, Ladine.
Okay, Todd Williams, Tricia has asked about stormwater drainage charges in Detroit. They vary by year. Have you had any luck funding stormwater over $250,000 with savings investment ratio, or does a variable drainage rate disqualify those higher cost projects? Thank you, Tricia.
It's a great question. I did see that one come through. We've not funded really a single source project other than the green roof property. That was a commercial property. It achieves savings not only from the stormwater, but also in particular energy savings as well to help address the 250 or the SIR requirement above $250,000. The short answer is yes. The longer answer, or the more in-depth answer, is that typically we see this as part of a larger project. And so, when we look at savings from PACE, we're looking at the total savings, so all of the measures. And so sometimes financing HVAC is not quite pretty. Financing stormwater drainage is equally, maybe not quite as pretty. But if you throw in some LED lights, the savings tend to pencil out an awful lot better. So we take a holistic view of the overall project. So we have seen a few projects that we're able to roll it in because of some of the savings from everything else.
Thanks, Todd. Thanks, Tricia, for the question. We have another question from Bob Matler for Jeremy. Will DTE consider buying down interest rate for PACE finance projects? This state law also helps building owners increase energy efficiency. Thank you.
That's a good question. I had respond to this to Jennifer, but at this point, we've really only partnered with Michigan Saves, and not to say that we wouldn't consider that. DT is looking at a pay for performance pilot, which would be something similar where the customer's monthly energy savings would essentially help finance the equipment, but it's a little bit messy kind of trying to figure that out. So at this point, my best advice would be to work with your trade contractor, because I never want to say no. And if you ask your trade contractor, sometimes there are one-off scenarios that we can do, but we just formally don't have anything in that space. Our partnerships specific to Michigan Saves and Todd and his team. And we have bought down the interest rates specific with Michigan Saves, but like I said, all that to say, I would contact your trade contractor or the person who's completing the work, because they may be able to, we can reach out to them and better understand the project and see what we can do to help you guys.
I would add that, there is nothing prohibiting projects from taking advantage of the wonderful programs that DTE and consumers in other areas have. We want you to take advantage of as much free money as you can, or grant money that you can, and come to PACE for the projects outside of it. I think it would be maybe a little hard for DTE to buy down the private financing that PACE brings to the table, especially right now they're already able to claim some of the savings from PACE projects under the PACE statute. So I don't know that we'll see them doing a buy down of the interest rate, but certainly there's nothing prohibiting property owners from taking advantage of the fine programs already offered, and then using PACE to finance the rest. So.
Thanks, Todd.
Are there any more questions? I think we've covered, or they've been answered in the chat.
Here comes Gerald. Oh, you're muted.
You're muted,
Yeah,
Jeremy.
can I just do it this way?
Yes.
Sure.
Mhm.
This would be for Noah or for,
Joey?
with Black Power, do you have to use your financing or can you use other financing?
You do not have to use our financing. We can still work together and do a lot of the project management if you want to use your own financing and bring it to the table and essentially buy down the entire lease payment, or we're flexible on that.
Yeah, what you showed with the thing in White Plains, that variable refrigerant flow. We have 2 old boilers and we don't have air conditioning except for a few spots. So that possibly is a solution for us, but we have a 50,000 square foot building too.
Certainly. Yeah, we could absolutely work together on that. That is very much within our wheelhouse. And one of the benefits of air source heat pump technologies and VRF solutions is that that one piece of equipment essentially can provide both the heating and cooling. So Gerald would be happy to take a closer look at that.
Do we have your phone number? And I'll try giving you a call, just something to explore.
Sure.
I'll make
Absolutely.
sure on our email to everybody
Okay.
that we have all the contact information.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Connie.
And you can always ask too, so. All right, any other questions? Anybody else? Looking good. We ended a few minutes early. Really appreciate everybody's time and our speakers. And yeah, just look for this information in email on our website and reach out to anybody with any questions from here on out. Okay. Thank you so much. Have a good afternoon wherever you are and try to stay dry.
Thanks so much, Connie. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Connie,
Thanks,
thank you,
Connie.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Good to see everybody.
All right.
Bye.
That was a good session. Got a new
Hi, Gerald.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Peggy. All right, I better stop recording.